Hey everyone, welcome into this video. I'm going to be doing a little tutorial, not really tutorial on settings on how to set it up, but just talking about what it is and how I was able to do it. I used AI entirely to prompt me and guide me through the settings and stuff, and then I also looked up some YouTube videos because there's a ton of YouTube videos. There's a ton of people who have done this for themselves at home, and it's a solution for gaming at home on cloud, like a cloud gaming server that's self-hosted, and it has no paywalls, unlike gaming with like GeForce Now and stuff like that. So the service relies on two pieces of software, and you have to have a gaming PC like with an AMD graphics card, Intel or NVIDIA, and you want to have like a Windows machine. That's typically a Windows machine, although I guess in theory it could be a Linux machine. Um, like Nobar OS or um, one of those types of Linux machines, Steam OS Linux machines work too. Um, but the client software that you use is called Moonlight, and it's an open source game streaming client. And the website is here, moonlight-stream.org. Um, and it allows you to play your PC games on almost any device, whether you're in another room or miles away from your rig. And it's free and open source. It was developed by NVIDIA Shield, and then NVIDIA abandoned it, and it became like open source. And you're able to play in 4K HDR, 120 FPS, but that's all relevant to how good your system is and how good your whole system, all the moving parts and settings are. That's all relative to that, and I'll cover that in this video. And I'll also cover my setup, just to kind of report back on how it featured and how it worked, and my experiences. I've had very successful experiences playing God of War, Red Dead Redemption 2, Schedule 1, Into the Flames, Firefighter Simulator, Ignite, BeamNG Drive, and Spider-Man Remastered, all on PC remotely, and I'm not even in my living room. I've been 65 miles away from my house, able to game on a Wi-Fi network, um, at a fine no almost no latency that's noticeable, and no input lag, and it was a stable 60 frames a second experience. When I record videos, it drops a little bit, because of the way it works, and I'll explain that pipeline. But the idea is you get a host. It runs on three types of hosts: Wolf, NVIDIA GeForce Now, and Sunshine. And Sunshine is the most commonly used host. And this is its website here, app.lizardbyte.dev/sunshine. And so Sunshine is a self-hosted game stream host for Moonlight. It offers low latency cloud gaming server capabilities with support for AMD, Intel, and NVIDIA GPUs for hardware encoding. Software encoding is also available. And then you connect Moonlight to Sunshine, and Sunshine handles all the encoding and gaming, and pumps it out to Moonlight, and Moonlight just decodes it and displays it on the screen, and it's like a stream. And the cool thing is, you don't really have to have a very powerful client with Moonlight to receive the Sunshine stream. Like, I was on a Linux Dell Latitude from 2016, running Linux Mint, which is a very capable, but it's not a Windows operating system. And it has an Intel HD graphics 520, which is a weak iGPU from 2016. It can't even game, but it decodes fine and upscales to 4K fine. It has no problem doing that. But a better client is my M1 MacBook Air, with a 7-core GPU that handles it better, and that's what I'm currently using to record this video and to access my Sunshine host through Moonlight remotely, and covering it remotely. I'll cover at the end. That's going to be a bonus. That you use something called a meshVPN to. I'll explain that at the end. Anyway, Sunshine. I'm not going to cover how to install Sunshine or how to install Moonlight, but you download it. You go to downloads, and you download the one. You download the one that is for you. It's for your server. The most common one, and the one that's for your release. If you don't know which one to download, you can ask Google or ask AI, and it'll tell you which one to do. But probably this latest version of Sunshine is the best one. But I won't cover that. I'll cover the Sunshine settings when I remote into to my Windows 11 machine. And you don't even need Windows 11 Pro. You can have Windows 11 Home. I did that for a week on Windows 11 Home before I upgraded to Pro. And I upgraded to Pro at Christmas because I got a code that was like $12 for Pro. So I will cover the settings on the M1 MacBook and the stream, and just kind of briefly go over it. Let me turn on my VPN. This is going to enable Moonlight to work because I'm remote right now. This is Moonlight. This is Moonlight on a Mac. This is the interface. This is an Air GPU rental GPU computer that I still apparently have in here. I can delete it, but I'm not accessing it. I'd have to pair it if I was going to use it. And this is my home PC, and it's currently open. It's paired, so it's if I click on that, it'll connect. But before I do that, I want to show over here. This gear icon's where the settings live, and when you open it up, this is where you set your profile. When you go to adjust how you're gonna receive the stream, and you want to match the profile to match the profile that you have it set in Sunshine. So I'm trying to keep my resolution 1080p. I'm targeting 60 frames a second, and it'll lock in at that. I have my bitrate set to 20 megabits per second because that's what basically the network can handle that I'm on. Even though it's a fiber network here, I can only handle 20 megabits a second without getting errors to reduce my bandwidth, and that's true bandwidth. Now at home, when I'm on my LAN and I don't have to worry about remote gaming, I can crank that bandwidth up to like 50, 45, 50, 55, something like that, 35, 40, something like that, and it'll really enable me to go for 1440p 60 frames a second or 120 frames a second. I have VSync off and frame pacing off. I have, these are all just kind of set the same. You can optimize the mouse for the remote desktop if you're going to use it like a remote desktop instead of games, but I don't have that set. You can set some input settings here. I always remember gamepad 1 is connected because it'll transfer. You can use a gamepad on your client, either Bluetooth or wired, and it'll, like an Xbox controller or a PlayStation controller or whatever compatible with your client, Moonlight client is, and you can game just the same as if you were sitting in front of your computer. I do the video encoder, force hardware decoding, not encoder, decoder, force hardware decoding, and I use H.264 because it's pretty good for what I need. There's other settings here. There's This is H.265. That's I use that sometimes on the LAN, and then AV1. I see a lot of people use AV1, but ChatGPT told me it wasn't a good setting to use, so I just stick with H.264, and I've had no problems. So once these settings are set for your stream, you're able to go into your stream. Click back, and I'm going to click on this. You can launch Steam Big Picture mode, or you can launch your desktop, and I'm just going to launch my desktop. This is my Windows 11 desktop, and this is exactly how I see it when I'm sitting in front of it at home. And everything works. You can click on everything. Click on the start menu. Go to all apps. You can launch any app, and it'll run. But Sunshine's running right now, and I'm going to log into the and this is my current version. So that's the latest version. You can pair devices with your PIN. When you click PIN, it'll give you an option to enter the PIN that the Moonlight has told you to enter, the Moonlight client, and then you name it, and you name it anything you want, and it'll pair it. If it doesn't, it's something's wrong with the settings in the network. But the network settings out of the box at Sunshine are configured right, that it should pair if it's on your home network. Configurations where all the settings live. General, there's not much there. Input, enable gamepad input, and then I have an Xbox controller, so I have it set to that. I just left these all default. Audio, video, I left it default. You can put your adapter in here, but I left the default, and it auto detects my RTX 5070 12 gig, even though that's just, it just automatically detects it. I have advanced display set up, so this is a virtual display. Even though this display physical on the Windows machine is 1440p, I have it virtually set to 1080p 144 hertz, which is what AI recommended. That way it looks 1080p. It's a 1080p stream. It's encoding at 1080p, and the client is decoding at 1080p and sending the signal out at 1080p, and I'm receiving it. So there's no like need to upscale or downscale. And then here's where you set your bit rate. And remember, my bit rate in Moonlight was 20, so you make it 20,000 here, and it's the same. And you set your minimum FPS that you want to target at 60. Um, I didn't mess with anything in network. It was all set. Same thing in config files. Advanced, same thing. I use the NVIDIA NVENC because I have an NVIDIA GPU. That would change if you had an AMD or an Intel GPU. Intel QuickSync or AMD AMF encoder. And that's where you configure those. This is where you configure your NVIDIA encoder. I have it set on P1, which is the fastest. You can set it up to slowest P7, and it's like better quality, but not. It's not like P1's like real blurry. P1 looks really good. It's just the quickest. 2-pass I have disabled. I have the spatial AQ. This is also called psychovisual tuning. That's off. And I have these all set to default. And then I don't touch software encoder at all. And that's my Sunshine settings, and that's configured. And basically, that's all you have to do to configure Moonlight and Sunshine. But I'll talk a little bit about what they do and how it works. Pull up my notes. It works. So there's no subscription and no third-party servers. It's not like you have to have. You can play Steam games on any device. So if you have a MacBook, you can actually game on a MacBook. And it's not like NVIDIA GeForce Now where they limit you and you have to pay $10 a month to have access to the games that you already own. You can play them here. Yeah, so Moonlight decodes the stream and displays it locally. It works on Windows, Mac OS, Linux, Chrome OS, Android, iOS, Apple TV, Raspberry Pi, Steam Link devices, Xbox Developer Mode, and embedded single board computers. The host that Moonlight officially supports is Sunshine, GeForce Experience, and Wolf. I don't know anything about Wolf or GeForce Experience. Sunshine is the server. It runs on your gaming PC. It captures the game, encodes the video on the GPU, and streams it out. It's the self-hosted cloud gaming. So the pipeline, the game renders on the host PC. Sunshine captures frames. GPU encodes the video either H.264 or HEVC. Network transports the stream. Moonlight decodes it and displays it. Your weakest link always decides the quality, whether it's upload speed, decoder capability, display resolution, or network stability. My LAN has 1.1 gigabits down and 35 megabits up. That's my host internet. My LAN is fast and stable, so games work fine at a high resolution and a high frame rate over my LAN. So the LAN can handle a high bit rate and 1440p. Remote play must stay realistic, and the upload speed of the host is the hard ceiling, basically. Um, because I only have 35 up, I can only do so much. If I had 300 up, it would be great. I have 300 up on this fiber network that I'm on, connecting, but it doesn't even matter. And the Linux Dell was very capable of decoding, even up to 1440p. And then I thought I could test a game, um, to kind of give a little bit about it, and then I'll talk about TailScale at the end. So I'll test. God of War.
Whoa. How did this happen?
It's lagging a little bit because I am recording and streaming, but it looks really good. And that's pretty much remote gaming. Now I'm gonna exit out of Moonlight and show you guys TailScale. So what you do is you download TailScale for macOS, iOS, Windows, Linux, Android. You can put your Android phone, your iPhone, your Windows PC, your Linux PC, or your Mac on TailScale. You download it and install it, and then when you log in, you go to where you log in, and you log in with like your Google, Apple, or Facebook or whatever. I don't think Facebook's one of them. I think it's like email. Um, and it shows your admin panel, and you have all your machines listed, and they have their own IPs, and they'll tell you whether it's connected to that mesh network. And as long as you're connected to the mesh network, it it basically pretends like you're on your own LAN and it's secure. Um, as long as nobody has that address of your host machine on TailScale, you can basically pretend like you're on a um, local area network. The devices talk directly. There's no port forwarding, no exposed IPs. Um, so on my mesh, I have my Sunshine host, my Linux laptop, my M1 Mac Airbook, and my iPhone. It works on hotel Wi-Fi at family houses. It feels like land when it isn't. So this is a viable solution to uh, host cloud hosting and playing on your Steam Deck and powering it with your PC or your ROG Ally X or your Lenovo Legion Go or your Switch, and docking it with your TV or having like an old laptop that you can put Linux on. It'll run it. If you have an old Windows 10 machine that doesn't work, won't run Windows 11, you can make a boot drive for Linux, Mint XFCE, and load it on there and download Moonlight. And once you have your Sunshine server configured, you just configure Moonlight and it'll work. I've tested it, and that's been my experience. One of the things that I forgot to mention is the settings in the game. Uh, like the graphical settings of the game do matter. So you do want to make it 1080p if it's 1080p for your monitor and stream, or if it's 1440p, you want to make it 1440p, and you want to set the frame rate to between 60 or 120 or 144, something like that. And there's some other settings like that you want to tweak, but it's best to Google or AI the game Sunshine profile or Moonlight profile for that game, and the best settings based on the stream and what kind of setup you're trying to do, and that's my best experience with that.